Hi friends, I'm Anna Helman. I'm so glad you're here today. Now today's a little bit different than normal because I am coming to you with a heavy heart. I just found out that my absolute favorite stamping tool is retiring. And I hear from so many of you who absolutely love this tool. I wanted to make a special video to share what makes it special, get the word out that this tool is going away so that you have the chance to get it before it's gone if you choose to do so. So this is my Stamparatus stamping platform. There are several stamping platforms on the market. In this video in particular, I want to show you what makes this one different. I have other videos that show you how to use it, how to store it, how to clean it, all kinds of things like that. And I will link to several other videos in the video description below and also at the end of this video. But in this one in particular, I want to show you what makes this tool different. I also want to mention before we start, I hear from so many of you who love this thing. If you are watching and you love this tool, comment below, like this video, help other people find it because this tool is amazing. When you search for Stamparatus online, a lot of times what you find is me up there at the top. So a lot of people who are doing research about which stamping platform is the best end up finding my stuff and end up ordering through me, okay? So those of you who've done your research, you find the Stamparatus, you decide that thing is awesome, I want to order that, I want to add that to my collection. So what do I hear from those of you who've purchased this thing? I hear over and over again that you love it. I hear that it makes your life better. I hear that many of you don't stamp without it. You don't use blocks anymore, you just use the Stamparatus. I hear so many good comments. Honestly, the only complaint I have ever received, and I have a lot of people order these things through me, is the only complaint I've ever received is somebody who wasn't careful enough with the magnets. You have to be really careful with the magnets so they don't snap together and break, and that they snapped together and broke, and she had to reorder some magnets. That is the only complaint I've ever heard. If you have problems with your hands, arthritis, shaking, tremors, anything like that, this is life-changing when it comes to stamping. And even if you don't, it is still life-changing. So I'm going to stop talking. I want to show you what makes this one different. Here is the Stamparatus. It is a stamping platform, like several others, as I mentioned, that allows you to, let's say you don't stamp perfectly on your first stamp. It allows you to line up in the exact same place, stamp again, and correct whatever you didn't stamp perfectly the first time. So that is the basic concept. It allows you to put your paper in the corner or to attach it in a particular place with a magnet, stamp again in the same spot if you want to. Now, this one, I want to show you what makes it different. That's what I'm going to spend my time on here. The next few minutes is showing you several ways that this is different from the others out there and why I hear from you all over and over again that this one is the best. So here's what makes it different. We have two plates, okay? And I'm going to show you here in a minute why that matters. So two plates, and we have these hinges here. It lifts out. I can lift my plate out as long as I lift it up. You can't pull it out to the side. You lift it up to the top and you can lift it out. Why does that matter? I'm going to show you over the next few minutes. So I will share and show you right now that a lot of times I use mine just with the one plate. Until I need the second plate, I leave it off. I just find it's a little bit easier to manage, takes up a little bit less space on my work surface. So let's start with how these plates lifting out and moving can be helpful. So I'm going to bring in a piece of cardstock, a stamp from a stamp set called Country Bouquet. This is a two-step stamp set. I hear from several of you that you have problems at times with two-step stamps, that that you have a hard time lining them up. So what I'm going to do is stamp this first one. These two pieces together will create a full heart, and a beautiful one at that. So I am going to stamp this first one. That is the part that looks more like leaves. I am going to lift this out, turn it around. Now I have a second work surface, a second side of my plate that I can line up and attach stamps to. Okay, this is one of the things that makes this thing amazing is you can line up several stamps and have them ready to go so that you can either do repeat stamping. Let's say you're doing Christmas cards or you're doing wedding invitations, anything you need multiples of. You can line them up, have them ready to go on the different sides of the plates, and stamp several. Stamp these repeatedly. So now you can see this finished piece. So there's so many situations you may want to stamp several things in the same place repeatedly. So now that I have these lined up, what can I do? I just mentioned this, so it doesn't really matter which one I stamp first. So let's go ahead and do this one first this time. I'll stamp one. I'll bring in another paper. I'll stamp a second one. Now I'm going to flip this around. I could stamp 100 of those if I wanted to, however many I need to do. Flip this around. It's ready to go to stamp that second part. So with 2-step sets, this thing is awesome and so very helpful. But I want to show you how this goes a bit further. And what if you have more steps you want to do? What if you want to add a greeting to the same card? What if you just want to stamp several more steps? Let's take a look at what we can do with that. And this is actually going to turn into more of like a 4-step process. So I have already mounted some stamps right here. This is from a stamp set called Sea Turtle, and some of my favorite greetings I'll be using from this Biggest Wish stamp set. So I'll bring in some cardstock. And I do want to put down a piece of some grid paper in the background. You don't have to use grid paper in the background. I just find sometimes when I stamp off the edge, it's just nice because it collects that ink and it doesn't end up in the base of my Stamparatus. Because I'm using photopolymer stamps, I am also using this deluxe mat. This is a good time to talk about accessories. If this is something you choose to add to your collection, there are several accessories that I do recommend. This grid paper is awesome. And the deluxe mat that is laminated, easy to wipe off if you get ink on it. It is really helpful as well. So I have already mounted these here where I want them. And let's go ahead and ink up these stamps. I absolutely love this big turtle. And the little turtle is super cute, an extra adorable addition to the big turtle. So let's stamp those. Now you can use the magnet if you want. A lot of times I just push my paper into the corner and I don't really worry about the magnet. I know that if I need to stamp again, as long as it's up in that corner, I can stamp again in the same spot. But I know many of you really love to use the magnet, so it's just personal preference. So I stamp with my turtles. I'm going to lift out, flip this around. I have this textural stamp lined up that looks, I think, like sand or pebbles. I'll ink this one up next. Stamp this over here. Next, on my top plates, I have some greetings lined up. Let's stamp the word happy. Flip this around, and I'm going to ink up the word birthday and finish this off. So as you can see, you can really get a lot of use out of the plates and the fact that they lift out and can flip around. Now I've actually heard from people, and I have 2 Stamparatus myself, I will admit. I'm considering ordering a 3rd one since it is going away and I won't be able to get them in the future. But I have heard from some of you who love having all the extra plates, and you've actually ordered 2 just so that you have those extra plates and all of those options for mounting all these stamps and having them all ready to go for Christmas cards or whatever it is. Okay, so those are two of the ways that it is so helpful that these plates lift out and flip around. Let me show you another way that is very unique, something else that is very unique to this particular stamping platform. Bring my other one back in. It really helps as I'm doing this to have two to work with here. So what I want to show you next is something called step stamping. So what this is, it's a technique where you can mount a particular stamp to your plate, to one of your plates, and from there you can stamp with it once and then lift the plate out, move it down one hinge, and keep stamping. So I'm going to pull another greeting from this Biggest Wish stamp set. Let's pull out the birthday one just for fun. Get it mounted to the plate. Let's go ahead and use a magnet this time. Maybe I won't have to grab my paper and pull it down a few times this way. Okay, so let's try this out. So I'm going to stamp once here. Next, I am going to lift my plate out, move it down one spot, and just for fun, just to show you some color variation, I'm going to stamp again without re-inking. Now, you could stamp this, you could do a rainbow, you could do an ombre effect, you could just do three colors that looked good together. You can do this so many different ways, but now I'm going to ink up again, move down, and I didn't have my paper in the corner the one time, so my one is off just a touch, but you can get the idea for what this can do. Let me show you some cards that I have created with this effect, and I actually have several here. So let's take a look at them. Here are some I created with a stamp set called Season of Chic, and I absolutely love the swoosh stamp. I think it is perfect for creating really quick and simple card designs with those swooshes in the background and then something stamped on top, like this flower or whatever you want to stamp on top. So I lined up that swoosh stamp and I was able to stamp once, twice, three times in the different colors, or this one I did the same colors. This one I did the ombre effect where I stamped down here and then I stamped two more times and it faded as I go up. So that is one example of how you can use this step stamping. If you have a hard time with placing things precisely, or you just like things to be precise, this is such an awesome technique and way to use the tool. These are both cards I received as swaps from other people, but here you can see how the happy stamped repeatedly has been used. Here you can see you could stamp put the leaf, attach it, and then stamp repeatedly going down for this beautiful card. Here are some others. Like I said, I'm going to link you to some other tutorials. I've shared lots of tutorials for how to use the Stamparatus in really unique ways. Here's one where I stamped my greeting repeatedly. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I stamped the thank you each time, and then I lined up from the bottom of my heart. Since it's in different colors, I had to stamp them at different times. And here's one. I stamped this fun like border stamp across the background in different colors. So lots of ways you can use this technique. Now, there are other ways you can use this tool. Now, these are not necessarily specific to this particular stamping platform, but I do want to share a few more things. And I'll mention before we get any farther that if you think this is something you want to add to your collection, there are links in the video description below for where you can order. Really encourage you to do it soon because we have no way of knowing how long the current supply is going to last and when they're going to be gone. But I am so sad that this is something that is going to be off the market and not available anymore. So I really wanted to make this video and share it with you here. For any of you who do order through me, I have a Stamping Rewards program. I send handmade cards from me, straight from me to you. I really appreciate those of you who order products through me and just wanted to get the word out about this amazing tool. Now I want to show you a technique called circle stamping, and it is the way I have made these two cards. I'll show you with this particular stamp from a set called Celebrate Sunflowers. This is one from Artistically Inked. But what you do, you create a template on your background on one of my grid papers, and it's a little bit hard to see. I should have used a marker to make the line stand out a little bit more, but I have a piece of cardstock that measures 4 by 4 inches. You can do this with different sizes, but this one right here is 4 by 4 inches. I traced around it this way, then I made sure to center it, and I traced around it this way. So what I am going to do is line up my stamp here towards the outer edge. I'm gonna line it up right here in the center, and we'll mount this. Now, because this is a red rubber stamp, I actually need to get rid of my mat here in the background, my foam mat. I only need that for my photopolymer stamps. And let's go ahead and ink this up. I'm going to do 2 different colors like I did on my one sample, but I'm going to do different colors than I did on that one. So I am going to use Melon Mambo for this first one. And each time I am going to turn my paper 90 degrees. We'll ink it up again. Here's where I could be using my magnet if I want to. Third time, and I'm not lining this up perfectly, but you'll get the idea. And one more. So you can see the circle, or a lot of times I like to call this wreath stamping because they end up looking like wreaths. So there's the first one. Now for this second round, we're going to line it up with the diagonal. And I'm going to switch colors. I'm going to use some Orchid Oasis, beautiful color, for the next 4. Turn it one corner, ink it up again, and 2 more. This is really fun. Depending on the colors you choose, you can get some really neat effects. The one, I'll show you my sample again here in just a second, that I created to have the look of fall. But depending on the colors you choose and the stamps you choose, you could do this with all kinds of things. Flowers are perfect to do this with, but you can do this with all kinds of other stamps as well. So really neat circle stamping technique. Now I want to show you something called mirror stamping, and this is only going to take a second to show you, but it's something you could play around with for days if you want to. Really fun, and I'll show you some sample cards I have done this on. So I am going to bring in a stamp from a set called Hello Ladybug. It is an adorable set. I just love this set. So mirror stamping is where, let's say this ladybug is facing left, but what if I want her to face right? Okay, we can't really change our stamps, but we can change how we use our stamps and get more use out of them. So I'm bringing in this is my silicone craft sheet. Use it for all kinds of things. It's really helpful for all different kinds of techniques. And I am going to ink this up with the closest ink I have. It is going to be Mary Merlot. Now I am going to stamp onto my craft sheet. I'm not stamping onto paper yet. And a lot of times I like to do this twice to get a little bit better ink coverage. The ink doesn't stick perfectly to the silicone craft mat. So a lot of times I do that twice. Now when you put your paper in here, you want to be really, really careful not to move it, not to smear that back side. Then you want to stamp one more time. So we have the ladybug stamped very nicely on the front. We also have the ladybug stamped on the back. Now, the face is not perfect. This works really well with outline stamps. And with solid stamps, it's a little bit less precise. You can go back and you can stamp it more times if you want to, but let me show you some samples where I have used this technique and it turns out super cute. Now I wanted to show you this because a lot of times it's really neat to show projects where two of an animal or person or whatever it is, they're facing each other. So here's how you can do this. If you have punches or die cuts, you can punch or die cut these and use the back side. So here are my samples. Here is one that I did a little bit different. I actually did the reflection. So I would have stamped it this way, I believe, and flipped it that way. But the faded reflection, which I thought was super cool there in the water. Here is one I stamped the goat, and I stamped the facing opposite ways with the word sorry. And then here, this is from a new set called Rhino Ready. And if you look close, you can tell this one is not as perfect as this one because this one was the mirror image. But what you can do, because I did die cut this out, so to die cut, so this is the one that we mirror stamped right here. To die cut it or to punch it, you're still going to use this side, the right side that we stamped last. You'll die cut or you punch it, and then if you want the other side, you just flip it over and it will be die cut and punched in the correct spot. So that's a pretty fun technique you can try as well. I'm going to show you one more thing in this video. There are so many ways to use this tool, but I'll show you one more right here that I love, and it is a way to stamp with multiple colors with one stamp. And here is my example of a card I made a while back. I thought it turned out beautifully. I made it with a stamp set called Eden's Garden. I'll have links to all of these products in the video description below if you want to take a look at any of them. And let's stamp right here on this piece. So I am going to mount this, of course. And now instead of inking with my ink pads, I am going to ink using some sponge daubers. So I have 3 sponge daubers here. I have 3 colors of ink. I'm going to be using Shaded Spruce, Granny Apple Green, and Merry Merlot. And I'll start with my Merry Merlot. I'll ink up first the spots that look a little bit like berries. And I like to do this. I like to start gentle with how much ink I'm applying, how hard I'm pressing. With this particular stamp, it's pretty easy. It's designed not to stamp solid anyway. It's got little dots everywhere that do the stamping. So we'll do that first, but I like to start light, and that way if I want to go back and add more color, I can always do that. I just can't take the extra color off after it's on there. So now I'm going to add some Granny Apple Green in a few spots, my lighter green. Friends, while I'm thinking about it, if you are new here, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button below and the little bell to make sure you get notifications when I share new videos. Love to share techniques and how to use tools to the best of our ability because, gosh, our tools can make stamping so much more fun and allow us to do so many things we couldn't do without them. Okay, I just added some Shaded Spruce. I tried to add it in different spots where I did not stamp the Granny Apple Green. And now it looks like I forgot this leaf right here. Stamp one more time. We have as many chances as we want to make this perfect, even though there's no perfect in card making. We just do this for fun. It's not even supposed to be perfect. So that, now you can see I got that filled in. So this is a technique. You could never do this with another or without this tool. So really fun ways to use this product. So I'm a little bit proud of myself. I made it through there without crying. Like I am actually I'm upset about this, that this is going away. So I wanted to share it with you. You don't have to take my word for it though. Comment below, tell each other how much you love this thing. Tons of you use this, tons of you have ordered this from me or from others. It's an amazing tool. Tell each other why you love it, how you use it. Share with each other. You do not have to take my word for it. So I have no way of knowing how long these will be available. So if you love it, pick yours up as soon as you can. Let me know what questions you have. I hope you have a blessed day, and I hope you'll be back again next time when I'll be here helping you to hand make with love.